If you use your phone for navigation on a motorcycle or bike, a phone mount is one of those accessories that sounds simple. Until your phone starts bouncing around, the mount rotates, or you start wondering whether it's actually going to stay attached. Today we're looking at the Lamicall Bike Phone Holder Motorcycle Mount, a clamp-style holder that promises one-handed operation, a locking mechanism, and compatibility with phones from roughly 4.7 to 6.8 inches. On Amazon, this particular model has a 4.6-star rating from more than 15,000 ratings, so there's quite a bit of customer feedback to work with. So, is it actually worth buying? Let's start with the biggest positive: security. The most common thing people like about this mount is that it feels solid once the phone is clamped in. The design uses spring-loaded arms with padded contact points, and there's also a locking mechanism on the back. A number of reviewers say they've used it on bumpy roads and found that the phone stays firmly in place. One long-term tester even reported using it for thousands of miles of rough riding. Now, that doesn't mean I'd say this thing can never drop your phone. There are some negative reviews reporting exactly that. But looking across the reviews, secure phone retention is clearly one of the product's strongest points. And for me, that's really what matters most with a motorcycle phone mount. The second big advantage is one-handed operation. You basically press the phone into the holder, the arms retract around it, and then you can engage the lock. Reviewers consistently mention that putting the phone in and taking it out is quick and convenient. That's particularly useful if you're using your phone for navigation and don't want to spend a minute fiddling with straps every time you stop. There's also no external rubber band that you have to stretch over the phone, which some competing designs use. Another thing people seem to appreciate is adjustability. The mount can rotate and tilt, so you can use the phone vertically or horizontally and adjust the viewing angle. That's useful because the ideal position is going to depend on your handlebars and riding position. The handlebar clamp is also designed to accommodate a range of bar diameters, although exactly how easy that is to set up depends on the particular version and your handlebars. But there are definitely some things I'd think about before buying it. First, it's not particularly small or minimalist. This is a fairly chunky mount. One long-term review specifically called it bulky. That's not necessarily a bad thing. The substantial construction is part of why people like how secure it feels. But if you're looking for something that almost disappears on your handlebars, this probably isn't it. The second issue is phone and case compatibility. Lamicall lists compatibility with phones from about 4.7 to 6.8 inches and specifies a device thickness limit of under 15 millimeters. But I'd still check your exact phone and case rather than assuming that every 6.8-inch phone is going to fit. A large phone with a particularly thick case, or something like a pop socket or other accessory on the back, can change the equation. So before buying, measure the actual phone and case combination, not just the screen size. There's also the locking mechanism itself. Interestingly, some reviewers really like the extra security, while others say the lock can be somewhat fiddly or sticky. One long-term tester eventually stopped using it because they felt the spring-loaded clamp was already strong enough for their riding. Personally, if I were putting my phone on a motorcycle, I'd use the lock. Even if the clamp feels secure, having that additional mechanical restraint is reassuring. And then there's the biggest caveat. This is still a motorcycle phone mount, so your particular setup matters. The reviews aren't universally positive. There are some reports of phones coming loose, as well as occasional complaints about installation or compatibility. Those reports seem to be a minority compared with a much larger number of positive experiences, but they're worth acknowledging because the downside of a failed phone mount isn't just an annoying accessory. It could be a damaged phone. So I wouldn't treat any mount like this as guaranteed protection. So, who would I recommend this to? If you want a reasonably priced, straightforward phone mount and your priorities are a strong clamp, quick one-handed access, and the ability to adjust the viewing angle. This looks like a pretty compelling option. The customer feedback is especially encouraging around the basic things a phone mount needs to do. Hold the phone securely and make it easy to put on and remove. But if you're looking for the absolute smallest mount, have an unusually thick phone case, or want a more specialized motorcycle mounting system, I'd look at alternatives before buying. And there's another important detail. Lamicall sells multiple motorcycle mounts. This review is specifically about this clamp-style model, not the company's newer models that add features such as dedicated vibration damping systems. So, is the Lamicall motorcycle phone holder worth buying? For most people, I'd say yes, with a couple of checks first. The biggest strengths are the secure clamp, genuinely convenient one-handed operation, adjustability, and generally good value. The biggest compromises are the bulky design, potentially fiddly lock, and the fact that compatibility isn't something I'd leave to guesswork if you're using a particularly large phone or thick case. And while the majority of customer feedback is positive, there are enough reports of fit or retention problems that I wouldn't call it completely foolproof. If your phone fits properly and you want a simple, sturdy mount without spending a lot, this is one I'd seriously consider. Just make sure your exact phone and case combination fits, install the handlebar clamp carefully, and use the locking mechanism, especially if you're riding a motorcycle. If you've used the Lamicall mount, let me know how it's held up for you, especially if you've used it on a motorcycle rather than a bicycle. And if you're deciding between this and something like Quad Lock, RAM, Peak Design, or SP Connect, that's a much more interesting comparison, because the answer changes quite a bit depending on how and where you ride.